a broad term that includes various malignant diagnoses that present in the oral tissues. And as I've told you, malignant tumors are popularly referred to as cancer. Now coming to the definition of neoplasia or tumor, which literally means the new growth. And this definition was given by R.A. Willis. So R.A. Willis, he defined tumor or neoplasm as the autonomous new growth of tissue or an abnormal mass of tissue, the growth of which exceeds and is uncoordinated with that of normal tissue, and it persists in the same excessive manner even after the cessation of the stimuli which evoke the change. So this is the definition of tumor or neoplasia, which was given by R.A. Willis. Okay, so an autonomous new growth of tissue or an abnormal mass of tissue, the growth of which exceeds and is uncoordinated with that of normal tissue and persists in the same excessive manner even after the cessation of stimuli which evoke the change. Okay, so for those who have just entered, we have started a new chapter, that is oral cancer. Which is one of the most prevalent cancers and is the disease referred to as cancer. So we just discussed about the definition of neoplasm or the tumor. Now, what is the study of what is oncology? Oncology is the study of tumors. So there are two types of tumors, that is benign and malignant. Benign tumors are the ones which grows very slowly. Okay, they are painless and they are innocent, and they are localized capsulated tumor, and they do not spread to the other sites. That means they do not metastasize. But whereas malignant tumors are just the opposite. They are rapidly growing and they are non-capsulated, and they invade into the underlying tissues and they can spread to the other sites. That means they can metastasize. That these are the difference between the benign tumors and the malignant tumors. Okay, slow growing, painless, innocent, localized, capsulated tumor that do not spread to the other sites, that do not metastasize, are the benign tumors. But whereas the rapid growing, non-capsulated, and invading into the underlying tissues and metastasizing once the malignant. Now, Hippocrates, he was the first one to term the cancer as carcinose. That means the word carcinose is derived from the Greek word which means crab or crayfish. And Hippocrates gave the term carcinose for the malignant tumor. And this means cancer, so the word cancer means crab-like. Why was this word given for this disease is, since the sectional morphology of the tumor along with the vascular supply mimic the body of the crab with its claws and the feet outstretched. So as the sectional morphology, that means as the histopathological picture of cancer was similar to that of crab, the name was given as such. Okay, it's coined the term carcinose, that means crab or crayfish in Greek for the malignant tumors, and hence the word cancer, it means crab. And this was given as the sectional morphology of the tumor along with the vascular supply mimic the body of the crab with its claws and the feet outstretched. So in this way, the malignant tumors were named as cancer. Now, oral cancer can be described as an indurated, ulcerated lump or sore that may or may not be painful and is often associated with cervical lymphadenopathy. Indurated those cancers or those tumors which originates from the epithelium are referred to as carcinomas, and those tumors which originate from the mesenchymal tissues are referred to as sarcomas. Okay, if they are of epithelial origin, they are known as carcinomas, whereas if they are of mesenchymal tissue origin, they are referred to as sarcomas. So the most common sites where the oral cancer can occur or involve are the tongue, oropharynx, buccal mucosa, and floor of the mouth. So these are the common sites that are involved by the oral cancer. And the less common sites are the lips, gingiva, dorsal surface of the tongue, and palate. Okay, so majority of the oral cancers, they involve the tongue, oropharynx, buccal mucosa, and floor of the mouth, whereas they less commonly involve the lips, gingiva, dorsal surface of the tongue, and palate. So that was about the introduction part. Now coming to the epidemiology. So oral cancer is ranked as one of the 6 most frequent malignancies in Asia. Okay, among all the cancers, oral cancer is ranked one of the 6 most frequent malignancies in Asia. And worldwide, it is one of the most prevalent cancers and is one of the 10th most common causes of death. Okay, one of the most prevalent cancers and one of the 10th most common causes of death. In males, oral cancer represents about 4% of the total body cancer, whereas in females, 2% of all the cancers are oral. Okay, it is the 6th most frequent malignancies in Asia, one of the most prevalent cancers, and one of the 10th most common causes of death. In males, 4% of the total body cancer are the oral cancers, whereas in females, 2% of all the cancers are oral. Next, oral cancer accounts for 2% of cancer deaths in males and 1% of cancer deaths in females. Approximately 95% of oral cancers occur in people older than 40 years. So the average age in which the oral cancer occurs is about 60 years. And majority of the oral cancers are squamous cell carcinomas. And others could be tumors of the salivary glands, lymph nodes, bones, and soft tissues. Okay, therefore, oral cancer is known as the disease of increasing age because 95% of It occurs in the people older than 40 years with an average age at diagnosis of approximately 60 years. And majority of the oral cancers are squamous cell carcinomas. Others could be tumors of the salivary glands, lymph nodes, bones, and soft tissues. Coming to the etiology and the risk factors. Now, the exact etiology of oral cancer is still questionable. And historically, a widely known 6S have been considered to be the greatest risk factors. And those 6S are smoking, which is the most important risk factors for the cause of oral cancer. Next is sunlight, sharp teeth, spirit, that is alcohol, spicy foods and sepsis, and syphilis. So these are the 6S which are considered as the risk factors for oral cancer. Smoking, sunlight, sharp teeth, spirit, spicy foods and sepsis, and oral cancer as they contain different potential carcinogens. Okay, so these are the different potent carcinogens which are present in tobacco, responsible for causing the oral cancer. Nicotine is a very powerful and the addicting drug which is present in the tobacco. So according to the study, it has different studies are done and it shows that those people who smoke more than 40 cigarettes per day, they are 5 to 7 times more at the risk of developing cancer than the non-smokers. Okay, so it has been shown that those smoking 40 or more cigarettes per day are 5 to 7 times more at the risk of developing cancer than the non-smokers. So due to the presence of different potent carcinogens in the tobacco, both in the smoking and the smoker's form, that increases the risk of developing oral cancer. Now, next is alcohol, and even alcohol in all the forms, including the hard liquor, wine, and beer, they are the risk factors for causing the oral cancer. And with this alcohol, they cause the synergistic effect on the development of oral cancer along with tobacco. That means the combined effect of both the tobacco and alcohol, they result in a synergistic effect on the development of oral cancer. Now, the mechanism by which the alcohol and tobacco they act synergistically is the dehydrating effects of the alcohol on the oral mucosa. Due to this dehydrating effect, it increases the mucosal permeability and also increases the effects of the potent carcinogens which are present in the tobacco or the alcohol. And this way, they increase the risk for developing the oral cancer. Okay? So the main mechanism is the dehydrating effect of alcohol on the oral mucosa, which increases the mucosal permeability and the effect of the potential carcinogens which are present in both the alcohol and tobacco. Okay, so even alcohol of all the forms like hard liquor, wine, and beer, when combined with tobacco, they result in the synergistic effect on the development of oral cancer. Next is the nutritional factors, that is lack of different vitamins like vitamin A, C, E, which plays an important role in the regression of the pre-malignant lesions are the risk factors for the development of oral cancer, especially vitamin A. They have a major role in the development of oral cancer because these causes the regression of the pre-malignant lesions like leukoplakia, increase the risk of development of oral cancer. So usually the deficiency is associated with the risk of squamous cell carcinoma. Okay, so deficiency of different vitamins like vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin A, they may increase the risk for the development of the oral cancer. Dental factors, different dental factors like poor dental hygiene or the use of the denture, denture irritation, presence of the irregular teeth or irregular or sharp restorations, chronic cheek biting, and high alcohol content in mouthwashes. These are all the factors which increases the risk for the development of oral cancer. Okay, so sharp teeth, which causes the trauma, right? Whenever there's presence of the sharp teeth or restorations, they usually results in traumatic ulcerations. So when these traumatic ulcerations are not treated in proper time, then they may lead to the development of oral cancer. So studies nowadays, they have proved that these are the most common risk factor development of oral cancer. Okay, so there are many examples as well where the traumatic ulcers have turned into squamous cell carcinoma in no time. So therefore, these should be eliminated very much at the time. So different dental factors that are the poor dental hygiene, denture use, irritations from the dentures, irregular or the sharp teeth and restorations, chronic cheek biting, and high alcohol content in the mouthwashes. These are all the risk factors which causes the oral cancer. Okay, next, the viruses which are associated with the risk of cancers are the herpes simplex viruses, human papilloma virus, human immunodeficiency virus, Epstein-Barr virus, and hepatitis B virus. So these are the different viruses which are associated with the development of the oral cancer. Okay, EBV, especially associated with nasopharyngeal carcinoma and leukemia. HBV are usually associated with the liver carcinoma. So these are the different viruses which are associated or are considered as the risk factors for the development of oral cancers or different cancers. HSV, HPV, HIV, EBV, and HBV. So that was about the etiology and the risk factors associated with the development of oral cancer. Now, pathogenesis, what happens? How do the normal tissue progress into the carcinoma or the cancer? So when there is a normal tissue or the normal mucosa and there are associated risk factors present, the first of all, the normal tissues, they undergo hyperplasia. Okay, there is an increase in the number of cells and all. And then this hyperplasia, the next stage is dysplastic features are seen. That means initially there is mild dysplasia, later on it could be moderate, and then it could change into the severe dysplasia. Okay, after that they can cause the carcinoma in situ. The next stage is carcinoma in situ, and finally there is the development of cancer, that means carcinoma. So the normal tissue undergoes hyperplasia, then dysplasia, then carcinoma in situ, and lastly and finally the major thing is carcinoma. Okay, so this is one of the histopathological picture of island of the tumor cells. Now, carcinogenesis, which is the molecular basis of cancer. Now, what is carcinogenesis? It is a genetic process that leads to a change in morphology and in the cellular behavior. Okay, so this is the molecular basis or the molecular study of the cancer. So, which are the major genes which are involved in head and neck squamous cell carcinoma are the proto-oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes. So, these two genes are the major ones which are involved in head and neck squamous cell carcinoma. Okay, so carcinogenesis, it is a genetic process that leads to a change in morphology and in cellular behavior. And the major genes which are involved in head and neck cancer is proto-oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes. Now, these proto-oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes, they have different roles. Like the proto-oncogenes, they increase the cell growth and differentiation, and therefore they are likely to be involved in carcinogenesis. Okay, so these proto-oncogenes, they increase the cell growth and differentiation and are likely to be associated with carcinogenesis. Now, different proto-oncogenes are RAS, that is rat sarcoma, cyclin D1, MYC, ERBB, that is erythroblastosis, BCL1 and BCL2, that is B cell lymphoma 1 and 2, INT2, CK18 and CK19. So these are the different proto-oncogenes. So you can just remember one or two names of these for the example point of view. Okay, so these proto-oncogenes, what do? Is they increase the cell growth and differentiation, and therefore they are likely to be involved in carcinogenesis. And different proto-oncogenes are these ones. Next is the tumor suppressor genes, which are the genes which negatively regulate the cell growth and differentiation. Therefore, the functional loss of TSGs, that is tumor suppressor genes, is common in carcinogenesis. Okay, so these tumor suppressor genes, usually they negatively regulate the cell growth and differentiation. Therefore, functional loss of tumor suppressor genes is common in carcinogenesis. And different TSGs are P53, RB, that is retinoblastoma, and P16, INK4A. These are the different tumor suppressor genes which are lost in carcinogenesis. So that was about the etiology, risk factors, pathogenesis, and carcinogenesis. That is the molecular basis of cancer. Now we move on to classification of oral cancer. So this classification is given by WHO. So WHO has classified oral cancer into different types. The first one is epithelial cancer. That means they originate from the epithelial tissues, under which there are several cancers like squamous cell carcinoma, verrucous carcinoma, basaloid cell carcinoma, papillary squamous cell carcinoma, spindle cell carcinoma, acantholytic squamous cell carcinoma, adenosquamous carcinoma, carcinoma cuniculatum, and lymphoepithelial carcinoma. Okay, so the first one is the carcinomas arising from the epithelial tissues. Next is salivary gland carcinoma. Those are acinic cell carcinoma, adenoid cystic carcinoma, polymorphous low-grade adenocarcinoma, basal cell adenocarcinoma, epithelial myoepithelial carcinoma, clear cell carcinoma. Continuation of the salivary gland tumors, cyst adenocarcinoma, mucinous adenocarcinoma, oncocytic carcinoma, Langerhans cell histiocytosis, extramedullary myeloid sarcoma, follicular dendritic cell sarcoma, and lastly the secondary tumor. So this is the classification of oral cancer given by WHO. Next, we move on to clinical features. Okay, as we had already discussed, so this is the disease of increasing age. That means the people of greater than 40 years of age are at more risk of developing oral cancer, and the average age is 60 years. In the gender, males are more commonly affected than the females with the ratio of 3:1. Site, most common sites are the tongue, oropharynx, and floor of the mouth, whereas less common sites are lips, gingiva, dorsal surface of the tongue, and palate. Coming to the signs and symptoms, the most common symptom of oral cancer is discomfort. There can be presence of the mass in the mouth or the neck, and other symptoms which are seen along with the advanced disease are dysphagia, odynophagia, otalgia, limited movement of the mouth, oral bleeding, neck masses, and weight loss. These features or these symptoms may occur with the advanced diseases. There is loss of sensory function, especially when the cancer is unilateral, and this is a red flag that may indicate the neural involvement. Okay, when the cancer or the tumor Okay, so different tissue changes takes place, and either lesions could be red, white, or mixed red and white lesions. And there can be change in the surface texture, which produces a smooth, granular, rough, or crusted lesions, or there is presence of the mass or the ulcerations. And those lesions, either they can be flat or elevated, or they may be minimally palpable or indurated. So here are the different clinical pictures of oral carcinomas. Like this picture number 1, this shows the irregular erythroplakia on the lateral border of the tongue. And this second picture shows that when this irregular erythroplakia is followed by the application of the toluidine blue, there is stain site which is not that clear. And this, when it was biopsied, the lesion when it underwent biopsy, it had proven the squamous cell carcinoma. Okay, similarly here you can see the indurated and the ulcerated lesion on the right anterior tongue. Okay, so this is the ulcer which was present in a 15-year-old girl, and this ulcer even persisted after the removal of the orthodontic appliances, and on biopsy it was proven to be oral cancer. Okay. Similarly, this is a non-painful, irregular, indurated, exophytic, and ulcerated buccal mucosa mass. And in histopathology, this also revealed oral cancer, that is squamous cell carcinoma. Here you can see the eroded erythroleucoplakic indurated lesion in the right posterior third of the lateral border of the tongue, and this was also diagnosed as squamous cell carcinoma under biopsy. Okay, next is nodal metastasis. That means the lymphatic spread is most commonly the involved lymph nodes are the submandibular and digastric nodes as well as the upper cervical nodes. And the lymph nodes which are most commonly involved are the ones which are present on the same side of as the primary tumor. So wherever the primary tumor is located, the same side lymph nodes are most commonly involved. And the closer the tumor is to the midline and more posterior in the oral cavity or oropharynx, the more common are the involvement of the bilateral and the contralateral lymph nodes. Okay, so mostly the lymph nodes of the same side of the primary tumor are involved, but if the tumor is closer to the midlines or if the tumor is located in the most posterior part of the oral cavity, then there are more chances of the involvement of the bilateral or the contralateral lymph nodes as well. Okay, and most commonly it involves the submandibular, digastric, and the upper cervical lymph nodes. So lymph nodes, when involved in oral cancer, they are enlarged. They can be either firm or hard in consistency, and with progression of the disease, it becomes fixed. Okay, and these lymph nodes, they are non-tender unless and until they are associated with the secondary infection or inflammatory response are present. Okay.